The dream is real. Yeah. Can I get a standing ovation for the authentic voice of culture? We are TKBS, and I'm hyped, yo. What's our logo gonna be? It's a funny story behind it. It was supposed to be a super group with Cisco, Tyrese, and some other people, and they was in the studio, they was hyped, they made a record, and all of a sudden, with Cisco's lisp, he said, I'm hyped, yo, what's our logo? Okay, great. This is a real life situation. I have more stories on the way, but TKBS Nation, how you doing? Did you get outside? Huh? Did you talk to your neighbors? We'll get back to that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Do you even know who your neighbors are? And you wonder why you feel strange. You know what I'm saying? When you see somebody in their drawers taking their trash out. You don't know your neighbor, all right? That's an assignment. As a matter of fact, TKBS, let's just go outside. Don't knock on nobody's door. Just wait for them to come out and then say hi. You know what I'm saying? Remember Miss Barbara in Friday?
Hi, Miss Parker.
Her and her fetishes with the I'm just playing. Let's keep it moving. Me, you wondering how I'm doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm amazing. I had a great weekend, that's right. I want to start off by wishing the legendary Andre Harrell and DJ Clark Kent a very, very happy heavenly birthday. That's right, last week Andre Harrell's birthday would have been September 26th. And DJ Clark Kent's would have been September 28th. And I ain't gonna lie, you know, those are my big homies. It's been a year almost today that we lost Clark Kent. It's been several for Andre. But I got to thinking about some good times. You know what I'm talking about? Like some of the best times of my life was with these guys. And it brings me back to one particular story. Tiffany, give them the sugar drop. Story time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I was in between probation officers. That's right. Clark Kent called me. I had literally had some issues with my probation officer that came to Atlanta looking for me. And when them folks come looking for you, you don't know the real reason. You don't know how long they're going to keep it. It was like ice. But back then, they came to my mama's apartment. She happened to live upstairs from me. I knocked on the door. I'm looking for your son. Yeah, this was going down. I wasn't a tyrant at this time, but the things that I did in the past came back to haunt me. Clark Kent gives me a call. He said,
Kenny, Andre is giving away white people's salaries.
I said, what do you mean? What is that? I've heard of it, but I've never heard the amount. He said,
I'm making $750,000.
I said, what? I said, there's an opportunity for me to make $750,000. He's like,
no, you don't have no experience.
I said, well, fuck you too, Tony. But I said, well, how can I get on board? I want to be a part of this.
I'm going to set you up with a meeting with the legendary Andre Harrell.
I said, Andre Harrell from Uptown Records? You mean Heavy D and the Boys, Christopher Williams, Al B. Shore, Mary J. Blige, Father MC? I'm like, yes. So he says,
I bet. I'm going to set up the call on Monday. Make sure you impress him.
I said, bro, like whatever I got to do. So before Monday could get there, he said
he wants to do a party with you in D.C. They're coming to Washington, D.C.
Mind you, I'm in Atlanta at the time.
They're coming to D.C. and they want to do a party for the Motown Talent Search.
Yes, I don't know if you remember the Motown Review, but it's historic. And he wanted to do something in the District of Columbia. I said, say less. Ironically, I had to go home anyway because them people was trying to put me in jail and extradite me. And Ron knows this better than anybody. They can move you, keep you up to 6 months before they transport you back home. I said, I'm on my way. Got a plane ticket, went home, set up the party. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew he liked light-skinned women and Dom Perignon, so I had it waiting for him. Party is pumping. Of course, I'm not there yet. I had my people escort him to his seat. He goes to his seat. He sees the women. He sees the champagne. By the way, they used to call Andre Harrell Mr. Champagne and Bubbles. He was like,
oh, this is a vibe.
I hear all this, after the actual event because I wasn't there. So I make my entrance, ladies and gentlemen. I start making my way to his VIP table. I get to the table. He says,
oh, shit, this light-skinned nigga. Oh, shit, this is amazing.
And when I tell you, that's how he talked. That's how he talked.
Oh, shit. Said that.
And I was like, how you doing, Mr. Harrell? My name is Kenny Burns. I respect what you've done for culture, and I am a real supporter of your movement. He said,
oh, shit, this nigga knows what to say. Oh, nigga, have a glass of champagne.
He hands me a glass of champagne. He's like,
sit down. Oh, tell me about your life. You DC fly. I see you play.
I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I'm literally sitting next to Andre Harrell. We spent the night at the party talking about life and culture and what I wanted to do. And at the end of the conversation, he said,
"Oh, shit. Oh, nigga, come to New York City Monday morning, nigga. I'm giving you a job."
I said, "What? Come to New York Monday? This is a fucking Saturday night. You mean in 2 days?" So I'm like, how am I going to do this? I reported to my old lawyer. He's setting everything up with the probation. And he was like, "You might not want to leave just in case, And I'm like, I got to go to New York. I have to go to this meeting. Monday morning, I walk into I was supposed to be there at 10 a.m. I walked in the office at 8 a.m. I'm sitting in there. I'm at the front desk. They wasn't open yet. 9, his assistant comes. She takes me up. I'm sitting in the waiting area. And when he came through the doors, he was like,
"Oh, shit, this nigga came to New York City. Oh, shit."
He said, "Oh, shit, not shit." That's my little running joke. But I said, yes, there's no other place I want to be. He said, "Come on in." We sat there and talked, man. He hired me on the spot. He's like, "You start tomorrow." They brought in Sincere Thompson, who I would be reporting to. They said, put him in street team marketing, give him $60,000 a year. I'm like, all because I threw a party. You know what I mean? You never know what being in the right place at the right time could do for your life. And that connection was one of the many reasons I adore those 2 black men. I wish they were here. I miss them tremendously. And celebrate your loved ones, man. You never know when it's going to be someone's time. And of course, I was outside this weekend. I went to my hometown of Washington, D.C. for CBC, Congressional Black Caucus. And you know what? I thought I would see more National Guard. I swear to God I did. And I actually saw them, but they ain't even had automatic rifles or nothing. And a lot of them looked like they couldn't run fast. So I'm literally talking to my man, "Oh boy, like, why are they outside?" You know what I'm saying? It's like decoration. It wasn't like they was doing nothing. But of course, our president is so petty. I figure like because the Black Caucus was in town that he put more force on the street, but it was quiet. It was really quiet. That night I had to host this year's Collective Pack event at the legendary Howard Theater. Yeah, round of applause for the Howard Theater. In the back of it, I don't know if y'all know this, but they have my picture and D Nice's picture painted on the wall of fame. I was very excited to go back there. And it was actually the place where the Collective Pack and my relationship started. D Nice and I did our first event there, and it was amazing, y'all. I got the opportunity to rock with the legend DJ Manny Fresh. Yeah, round of applause for Manny Fresh. And then we had a special performance by Juvenile. You don't realize how many hits Juvenile has until you see him in concert. The man got records. And then you don't think about the time they sold all them gazillion records back in the day. And big shout out to my baby girl, DJ Ari Spears, who also rocked with us. It was a fucking stone cold groove. The next day, y'all got a chance to see my mama and them. That's right, I took my mama and my aunt Lena to L'Oreal Plaza. I'm talking about good Mexican food. I'm talking about tastes like Jesus made it Mexican food. I'm talking about Halle Berry good. The chips and salsa. I don't know what they put in it. It's like crack is in the salsa. The legendary swirl. It's like a daiquiri margarita of sorts. They got the white and the red, you know, the shit you get in Miami, the Miami Vice style. It was unbelievable. And I had to have one because I drank so much tequila the night before, I had to get level set the next day. And then that night, y'all, I went to party with my PVO crew for some positive vibes only. That's what PVO means. And big shout out to those brothers. They do parties all over the globe. My first interaction with them was in Ghana. I'm in Ghana minding my business. We go to this party. I'm like, oh, wait, this is a vibe. It felt like something in the States. So the brothers obviously are from Africa, but they live in the States. And this party was so live. When I tell you, I had so much fun, I got on the mic for free. Yes, I did. And we've been locked in step the entire time. And afterwards, y'all, I don't know if you've ever been to George's in Georgetown, but when I tell you they have a Philly cheesesteak, I ain't even gonna call it a Philly cheesesteak. This is a George's cheesesteak because it ain't quite how they make theirs. It got the onions, the chicken, and the cheese, but it's some tzatziki, something seasoned because it's a Greek-owned establishment, but it tastes unbelievable, and I enjoyed it. So big shout out to George's. Then on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, I went to brunch and got to see my sister. Casey, that's right. My first baby. And then she bought her babies, Kai and Crew. They are so amazing. My little chocolate drops, I just love loving on them. They're getting a little unruly though. You know, that second child. Crew ain't no joke, child. You be looking Stephanie over there shaking her head. Them second children, man, them motherfuckers be hell, don't they, man? Kyle, my second child, a wild child, but them second one, boy. And I know my next guest coming up shortly, he know about them second children too. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to get into this episode. Episode 155, Colorism. And this episode was inspired by our creative director of TKBS, Marjorie Maxey, and a conversation we had about light skin versus dark skin, which I alluded to last episode when the Chris Brown thing was going on. And she verbally assaulted me. That's right. Felt attacked. And I wanted to bring her on the show today. Of course, I'm kidding. That's my boo. And she brings great perspective to me and the show. But I wanted to bring her on because this is the oldest civil war within our community in Black culture. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Marjorie Maxey.
Kenny Burn.
Hi, beautiful human.
I can't believe you're bringing our private conversations to TKVS Street. So here we are.
There's things that have to be done. And then Tiffany and I were huddling because clearly we want you on the platform more speaking because you bring valuable, you know what I'm saying, like information. And are you a millennial or are you Z?
I'm a millennial. Don't do me. I'm a millennial.
You know, you look amazing, skin glowing. So I didn't know what the actual age was, you know. But here on the Kenny Burns Show, we tell the truth. All right.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask your age, but are you single for anybody watching? Just curious before we get...
I'm single. Kenny, thank you for that. So if anybody in the nation, you know, send him a DM.
Ron's not single, okay, ladies? I know he won't show his face, but he's not on the auction block. Okay, well, look, we had this amazing conversation. And I want you to run it back so that we can get back into it because I think your input and your view on the situation is vital.
Absolutely. So it started with Chris Brown. And I want to start off by saying I'm a little biased, right? So I do enjoy Chris Brown's music, but I do not shy away from what they say about that man. Okay. So it started off with the allegations of him being colorist, and these are long-term and widespread. You know, it's not one person. It's several women over several years, and there hasn't been any real denouncing of it, right? So, by him. He'll say like, you know, I'm over it or like stop talking about it, but it's never been, I'm not colorist. It's never been that, right?
Got it.
So, you know, as the creative director and, you know, your good friend, I said, I'm gonna try and save this light skin man and tell you not to say that thing.
I'm always trying to spare my feelings, but not.
But don't say that, you know? And so, you know, through the conversation of using, you know, certain language like, in true, everybody got something to say fashion or whatever the language we had used was, right? I just think that we need to be careful, you know, especially when people are talking about their real experiences and our community constantly is warring over these things. So Chris Brown started it, but we're continuing it for sure.
And I think continuing the conversation is necessary, right? Because when you think about it, well, first of all, Chris Brown, let's just get him wrapped up, put a bow and over with and on the shelf. He can actually like who he likes, right? Because, you know, there's a preference in dating. Like, I know chocolate women that prefer white men. I know light-skinned women like Ron. I mean, not this current wife of his, but he loves chocolate women or traditionally has, he looking at me like, Ron, you want to come on camera so I can see? He said no. But you dig what I'm saying? Can you date who you want to date or have a preference in who you choose?
Absolutely. I think preference is the new mask, though. I think we're using preference incorrectly. You are allowed to date who you want to date. You are allowed to love who you want to love. I love me a chocolate man. Okay. I've dated outside of that, right? I've dated multiple.
So you got something against light-skinned Negro?
I have nothing. I wouldn't be here with you. I got nothing against you.
We have a personal, but we have a transactional. So that's not necessarily true.
No, it's not the same thing, though. So preference more so circulates things that you're attracted to. That's cool. I have no problem with that. Also, I have to say it for the dark-skinned women. As a dark-skinned woman who's never wanted to be light-skinned, never wanted to be anything besides what I am, a lot of the conversation circulates around jealousy, and that's not what it is. It's not people wanting to be picked. It's not people saying that light-skinned men should love dark-skinned women. It's saying, don't treat me bad because of it. Don't treat me less than because of it. Don't make me feel bad because of it. You can like who you want, but preference is becoming the new mask for just mistreatment. And it's not the same.
No, I totally agree. I also think that like when you're thinking about that, do you think like, cause I'm always inclusive of everybody and I am innately aware of my surroundings and who's there. I'm talking about big women, skinny women, dark-skinned women, light-skinned women, you know, and all my white brothers and sisters too. Like I say a lot here on the Kenny Burns Show that some people could take offensively, but I also like to preface the situation with, I'm not talking about my white brothers and sisters on the right side of history or, you know what I mean? So the question is being inclusive. Do you think we have to think about that especially as a public figure, right? When it comes to like a Chris Brown, you know, I know me as a media personality, as a savant of culture, a preserver of, you know, hip hop, all the things that we've grown to be in this world. I think I'm a purveyor of that. So I'm going to be conscious of it. But do you think celebrities should be too?
I think it's an interesting point because it's like, if I have to think about inclusivity, it's already pointing to an issue. I guess the lens that I'm looking at it from is, if I have to consciously think about including you, that means something somewhere is excluding you. Whether it be in numbers, whether it be in structure, whether it be, if I have to consciously think that I have to include this person,
right,
then it's because society is already doing the work to exclude you, right? The reason why
I'm wanting to include them though, because you care. It's almost like people don't think on your level or Tiffany's level. You're both very highly educated. You research, you explore, right? So having a conversation sometimes with somebody that doesn't read or doesn't follow the news or is not on social media, you can be talking to someone that's ignorant, basically.
For sure.
And they're judging because of the way they feel versus what they know about you. And so for me, being in media and trying to be responsible, like it was so funny. Like you put me on to the Grits and Eggs podcast. Tiffany has always said things about that as well. Like I'm listening to him just yesterday and he was talking about Future and Russell Wilson,
yeah.
Right? And so like I love the point. But then he went down a rabbit hole of going on like this tangent about Future and like, yeah, okay, cool. If he's a functioning drug addict, if he's all these things, that's kind of like not the point. The point is Russell Wilson actively shows up, you know, intentionally, premeditated, thoughtful, and premeditated in a good way because he wants to have this presence, right? And it's also you working on yourself, wanting to be this. It's like me. You know, I just did big shout out to the Cork Bros. Like I just did this one-off that's out right now where they asked me what it cost me to be successful. I'm like, it didn't cost me shit. It cost my ancestors everything. So that's what I mean by being inclusive. I'm including the work that has been done prior to me. I'm including the sacrifices that have been made on my behalf. So that's what I was asking your opinion on, thinking about it. But that's how I look at being premeditated with it, because you are supposed to make your surroundings comfortable. You're supposed to make everybody. That has nothing to do with the way I feel. And millions of people will co-sign that because that's the way I show up every day.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough. I'm from Connecticut, so I grew up in a pretty diverse suburb where Black is not the majority, right? So there is no realm where I walk into a room and expect the majority of the people in there to be Black. Quite frankly, I don't expect much. And that's just because of what I'm used to, right? Like I've been brought up in a space where I don't want to say color doesn't matter because that's not what I mean. I do want to say though, it's not as much of a thought, right? And if we could get to the point where it's not as much of a thought, I think inclusivity would be a lot easier for even people who don't know me, right? Like if you don't have to consciously process who's not in the room or who is in the room, then it's a lot easier to just be accepting of anybody.
Listen, I agree, but we're here. Generational trauma, self-inflicted on a lot of levels, but systemically on the biggest levels possibly, right? And we're always talking about the Black dollar and supporting our own. We see Asian people, Jewish people, Italians. We see all these people pool their money in their communities. But how are we supposed to do that when we have this civil war innately or intentionally, right? Like, how do we do that? And for me, I think we're at the point, we're going to get into it momentarily with this clip I saw on the Higher Learning podcast with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay. But it's like, and this is the thing that triggered you in our conversation. We need to go ahead and share that with everybody. I was like, I feel like my dark-skinned brothers and sisters as far as like how I've been treated. And you were essentially like, you can't. feel that way. And you're right on a certain level from me being light skinned, and has a period in culture ever served me in a better way? Has it traditionally from my ancestors? Absolutely. But me, personally, I felt like I caught so much from my black brothers. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, it's like, you want to fight me because a girl likes me? You're mad at me because I can actually stylize something and we got the same outfit. No, I'm giving you my truth. I love your squinty face, but I'm saying I was judged, and I'm not comparing it to house nigga and field nigga. I'm not comparing that at all. I'm talking about my generation and how I was made to feel. And you had an interesting take on that, because it's like, and you see me every day, but you also you met me very successful in doing my thing. But even before Instagram, when pictures were a thing and you had to see somebody in a newspaper or a magazine, I was judged for being light skinned. So I feel not the weight of dark skinned people in the diaspora throughout history, but I feel I've been treated disrespectfully. I've been marginalized. I'm passing the apartment with my mom and aunt after dinner. I'm like, Mom, I remember we used to sweep roaches into the corner and our cat used to eat them. Like, I come from the whatever, like everybody else. So I feel at times we light-skinned people, light-skinned black people get judged, for things we can't really control.
I don't knock any of that. I think everybody's experience is true to what they say it is. I think that when we're talking about colorism, though, we're talking about systems and structures that are in place, right? What you experienced at the hands of those mean, dark-skinned men was bullying. It was not nice.
Don't you think it came from their frustration generationally, what they were taught, how they were viewed? It's
an adverse reaction to colorism, though. It's the response, right? So if systemically darker skinned men are perceived as less desirable or hyper masculine or mean or all the negative things that come with being a darker skinned man stereotypically, and you're not, and you're benefiting, I might have a way to react to that might not be healthy. I might be doing something to you that might not be nice. I might be teasing you or taunting you or making your experience a little harder. However, that's probably the height of what happens to you, right? And in the world, though, you still benefit. So to compare, the fruits of your privilege to the scraps of my oppression, it's not the same fruit. It's not apples to oranges. You know what I mean? It's not the same. You like that?
That was bar.
So it's like I can appreciate and understand that there is a level of struggle that you're going to experience. There is a level of taunting and teasing, especially with, the light-skinned niggas are soft.
Because she sent me this meme that had a light-skinned nigga doing the splits, the other nigga holding his leg in the air, and then the other two black brothers on the side looking cool. I'm like, nigga, that ain't the light-skinned niggas I know.
You see? But they're just saying that they're out there, But I think that we forget that a lot of that stuff stems from slavery. You know what I mean? We're playing a white man's game, and we're perpetuating it. You know what I mean? So it's like to take the fact that house niggas were doing more domestic things, right? It was more of the softer lifestyle that translated when you pass down trades from things that you learned. If you were primarily like a domesticated house nigga.
Yeah, but before you just jump off the bridge, at the end of the day, though, you gotta realize that trauma is passed down throughout the diaspora.
For sure.
And we're about to bring on my brother Teule to give some more perspective. And we're going to play this clip from the Higher Learning podcast with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay. But when you think about generational trauma being passed down, it didn't miss us. It didn't skip us. And for you to, and I get why, I get the history of it, but to blanket statement that we feel better. Now, there are people that feel this way, but there are actual dark-skinned men that think they're white and have the ideology, I'm talking about through practice, through patriarchal systems, and they act like cold white people. And to be honest, when you even look at rulers in Africa and across the world, they're the most disrespectful to their own people. That's an argument for a bigger day, and it might be a tour, because I really think this conversation is necessary. Honestly, though, because we have to have it, because we all have our innate feelings about it and they're all valid. But we got to get to a point where we come together in a way that, serves us, the diaspora, in a whole inclusive way. So button it up by saying how we do that in your perspective.
In my perspective, I think the way that we do that is by identifying what it really is, right? So colorism is featureism, is texturism, is elitism, right? So it's all the things that we point out amongst ourselves that we don't need to. You don't have to tell me that my hair is kinky, curly, nappy. You don't got to say that. I know that. You don't got to say that. You don't have to say that my features are bigger or smaller or better or whatever. There's no reason to pick us apart. So I think that the way that we move past it or start to grow past it is to realize that it doesn't matter, especially amongst ourselves and then especially publicly. We're having these conversations where other races are seeing us pick each other apart, and it's just making it easier for them to do it to us too. So
it was a construct created by non-creative people that has served them in every way since its inception. And I totally agree with you. And we're going to continue here at TKBS to make it a more colorless world. Marjorie Maxey, I respect and value you. I appreciate you coming on to share with the nation. A round of applause for Marjorie Maxey, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, we're going to need a part 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 because my notes are still notes over here. So we're going to need a whole lot of...
And we can continue it all week long. If there's things that you'd like to say, please make the videos and let's post them.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was an amazing conversation. Now, I saw this clip yesterday from the Higher Learning podcast with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay. And it was from Tyreek Withers. Y'all remember on the episode when I was telling y'all to go watch him? I told y'all Tyreek, I said his daddy got to be black. And I learned on the podcast that his daddy from Chicago. Big shout out to the GO. And I think when I had the conversation initially with Marjorie, this was the answer she was looking for. Tiffany, can you play that clip?
You mentioned being white passing.
Yeah.
For you, you said, I'm black, I'm mixed, I'm white passing. It seemed like you identified yourself as a black man, but you had to also understand that you're mixed. And then you had to also understand that you're white passing, right?
Yeah.
How do you contend and come to your identity? Tell people that don't know you, they're going to look at you, they're going to hear you say all of those things, how you approach and contend with who you are and what your identity in America is.
Yeah. So my dad's a black American, from Chicago. My mom's white from, Maine, and I'm the only one from Jacksonville, Florida. But yeah, I grew up not, in the black experience, so I identify as a black man, but I never want to take up space and say my experience is just as difficult because, I think the way I look, I grow my hair out, my hair's straight. My brother had the curly hair. And so, I walk through the world with privilege. So I'd be remiss to not mention that privilege. But yeah, growing up, I choose my blackness every day and I explore that. And even throughout college, I joined the first black Greek letter organization, Alpha Phi Alpha. And then, even on campus of Florida State, getting involved with the Black Student Union, my first play was the first ever Black Student Union play at Florida State that talked about themes of police brutality, being black in America. And, I think that was important for me to do. And so, it's a everlasting journey. And I think being black is an honor because we come from greatness. And I'm so lucky to have that. And I just want to live in that space to continue to tell stories that, my people have witnessed throughout history.
Man, listen, a lot of people agree, and I do as well, but I want to unpack this with my brother. We call him Freaky Cousin. Put your hands together for my brother, Teule Williams.
What's going on, champ?
How you doing, champ?
Man, God is good.
Man, God is the greatest. You had a chance to listen to Marjorie and I have our conversation. I teased it last week to y'all, and y'all talked about it briefly on last week's live, which, by the way, is hosted by Teule, a.k.a. Freaky Cousin, 7:30 every Tuesday to unpack the episode with our brother, Michelangelo. So you saw what Tyreek Withers had to say, and how do you feel, my light-skinned brother?
You know what? I do agree. Because yes, I am a black man. I'm an African American, but I am in a lived reality and a lived experience that says, yes, as a light-skinned black man, I am going to receive greater privileges, right? That's not an opinion. Those are actual studies done by sociologists that say individuals who are darker are seen to be more aggressive. They are less likely to get raises, as opposed to us who are black but with lighter skin. We do have some advantages. So yes, I agree with what he's saying. So there is no one, in my opinion, who I feel is blacker than me just based on my upbringing.
I say it all the time. I'm light-skinned, but I'm blue-black on the inside. My actions are from my heritage, my ancestors, and I identify with that, much like Tyreek said. I don't know why I just got so hype. I felt it in my spirit. But that's what Tyreek was saying. Like, he chooses to identify with his black side. I mean, he didn't say side. I forgot the words he used, but and that's how my mama looks white, like a white woman. I don't know. There's an identity within that in itself.
But two things can be true at the same time. So yes, we can feel, right, very connected to our African roots. We can feel very much a part of the diaspora. But on the other end, we have to acknowledge, as the sister was saying, in order for us to heal, we have to acknowledge when things are true. Yes, I am going to be seen as less threatening. I don't care if I am the most staunch Black Panther. It doesn't matter. When white people or people who are not African American see me, they are less likely to see a threat as opposed to my brother who was darker. They will see him and say, oh, he's probably a little bit more aggressive. How many times do you see a police officer kill a man, an African American man, who is not of a darker hue? It's usually their aggression is going to be towards someone who is, hey, you know what? Don't reach too much. I get pulled over. I've been pulled over a lot of times. 9 times out of 10, that officer doesn't feel that threat until he hears me speak. Then he's like, hey, why are you so aggressive? Well, you didn't have that same opinion when you first saw me because I'm not seen as threatening. So as a community, we have to be able to tell the truth.
They did it to Bud Crawford the other day. They pulled him over, drawn on him. This man is a legend in his city.
Yeah.
If y'all don't know this, I'm telling you, he blue black. The covering might be one thing, but the other thing is you know what I'm saying? And in history, Teule, light-skinned African American leaders have died. You know what I'm saying? Being militant on behalf of all black people. When you look at Malcolm X, when you look at Angela Davis, I mean, obviously Malcolm X died for Angela Davis, you look at all the leaders, in that era that were light-skinned were very prevalent for the movement. They were very outspoken, and it's something Marjorie said. I see Tiffany over there tingling because, when she started tingling, that chair get to moving and shit. Then the whole bottles, the Uncle Nearest bottle starts shaking on top of the shelf. Tiffany, what did you want to say, baby? Because you had a great point.
I was just saying that when we talk about colorism, I mean, we're no different than the Spanish community or anything like that. And to your point about the civil rights movement, that's the reason why, so many of our civil rights leaders were lighter skinned because they knew at the root that was the way to get attention. Right. So we use what we view as divisions to our advantage. And the only reason why we're seeing that become such an issue now is because, to T's point, as he said multiple times through our lives and things like that, and as you've pointed out multiple times as well, KB, is that it's just part of the divisiveness of part of white supremacy to keep us infighting so that we don't come together as a community.
Right. And seeing the value of it then, though. Right? Why can't we see the value in it now from both sides? And I think that's where we need to net out. And I'm going to get into it with As the World Turns. But I really feel, man, like we get in our own way with that, right? To have the wherewithal in the 60s to use it as a tactic, right? To succeed and bring together this community that has clearly systematically forced apart. Why would we continue doing it, Teule?
I don't think it's helpful. Right? Because again, even in that day, the individuals knew what the purpose was, right? It's so much infighting now because even in our community, we'll say, you know what, she's pretty for a black girl. No, that means you're not supposed to be pretty. We get real ignorant with it, but that's that colonial mind frame that, that is indoctrinated even in us to where you will see. I've seen individuals on the award show. I remember, not to bring his name up as, vitriol, but to make a point when YG was like, hey, we got to take care of these light-skinned babies with these green eyes.
Like I was having conversations with Nip about, I'm like, look, bro, we got some light-skinned, pretty girls we gotta raise. We in trouble, my.
That's you perpetuating something that is like, well, if you had darker skinned children, would you not protect them as well? And so we, again, have to just do a better job of recognizing two things can be true at the same time. Yes, I understand I have a privilege, and yes, I will benefit from it. And I have to do a better job of understanding that I'm not going to get the same treatment as my brothers and sisters who have a darker hue. That's just a fact, right? And then on their end, they have to understand, hey, we can't make jokes because a joke. So there was a scientist who says if a joke is said for more than 365 days, it will become not just an opinion, but a fact. So we will say, light-skinned niggas is going to take pictures with their eyes squinted. And we start doing it, right? Because we just feel like I'm light-skinned, I just squint my eyes.
If I ever see you squint your eyes, Taylor, I'm going to call you out.
First of all, I'm a gangster. That's never going to happen. But we just have to do a better job of getting rid of these things that are not helpful to us as a community. No one's going to save us but us. So we have to do a better job of saving ourselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Freaky Cousin Freaky, a.k.a. Thank you, Taylor. I love you. That was brilliant. I ain't even have to ask you to button up because you know what to do. Tiffany probably was texting the shit out you on the side. Okay. All right. I appreciate you guys. And now it's time for Live from the Comments section. Tiffany, I know you got some comments, so I don't know why I'm yelling. I'm so hyped. This has been an amazing conversation. I hope you're taking them to your communities and doing something with it. Tiffany, give me the comments.
Yes, sir. You already know the comments was commenting because people was feeling what you were putting down, which was a break from the norm from that orangutan in office. Okay?
Man, fuck Donald Trump.
Fuck Donald Trump.
But I will say this. You did touch on the subject because as you pointed out in the episode earlier, the previous episode was where you kicked off the colorism conversation during the Chris Brown segment. Latifah Teaches 215 said exactly the pooling of black and brown dollars is the only way to get these companies to make sense. And then she puts in for the double entendre senses in dollars of the importance of our contributions.
Latifah, I couldn't agree with you more, baby. But it's just a challenge of not having these internal civil wars. That's the only thing that plagues us. We do a great job of making the economy boom. We do a great job of speaking life into people when we want to. But when it comes down to the only thing that can make us a superpower within this, chess game, we don't do. And that has everything to do with the economy and how we spend our money. We're going to figure out a way how to buy that Louis Gucci. You know what I'm saying? But can we help these HBCUs out? Can we fortify the education system when they're clearly trying to erase our entire history so they don't have to feel bad no more? Child Latifah, that's a whole nother show. I think you inspired it. Tiffany, do we got some more comments over there?
Yes, sir. And the inspiration is inspiring, ain't it?
Come on. I got hype. What's our logo gonna be?
Period. Look, and speaking of what your logo gonna be, I remember when it was Rockefeller and the Nation Do Too, because you touched on your feelings on what was happening between Dame Dash and Cameron last week. So much so that the homie Murphy 73 said self-sabotage from ego-driven behavior definitely seems to have a mental hold on many from our era. The common thread seems to be a stem from a continued lack of accountability.
No, listen, accountability is everything. And our superheroes, if they would just take the accountability, we'd be better off. I was just watching. Do y'all watch Below Deck? I get lost in that joint when I'm on the plane sometimes. In the chief, I don't know what they call the guy who runs the boat, but the captain basically, that's it. Sorry, Jesus Christ. I don't know what the captain, he had an issue with this particular bosun named Weehan. And Weehan refused to take accountability. And it was so fucked up on this particular episode because his partner, Johnny, the Greek dude, he was my favorite character. He was so even. He was like the man's man on the boat. And he finally met a girl. Like everybody on these boats, on these Below Decks, child, they be hooking up, child. If you want some mindless television, watch Below Deck. They going through the motions. You hear me? He finally get a girl. And his man, somebody he defended with his all, this dude, fucking Weehan, set him up. and didn't intentionally set him up. I mean, they didn't even get to the part where he actually set him up because he told the captain basically that, you know what I'm saying, it was his fault when it wasn't his fault. He told them he was going to be by himself after the phone party. You remember the phone party? The phone party, and he cleaned that motherfucker for 3 hours, and he couldn't possibly do it all by himself. But Weehan's a fucking dickhead. We want Johnny back on the show. I don't even know what my point was at this point, but watch Below Deck. This shit is entertaining and mindless television. I'm sorry, Tiffany. All right. Do we have any more comments?
Yes, sir, we do. And I know what you meant because I be watching the show.
You feel me, though?
Bring him back, okay?
Accountability is what I was trying to say, Tiff.
Period. And speaking of accountability, the Chris Brown segment had everybody on fire last week because Honey Glaze said Chris Brown is in his own lane, okay? And the coast is clear because that show from top to bottom was the most entertaining show ever. No disrespect to Usher because I saw him too. Mm-hmm. Breezy, just different. You have to experience it. And the reason why I clipped that is because she brought up the Usher show. Right. So I wanted to see what you had to say about that.
Usher's the icon. Chris is right there and will be for his generation. So Honey Glaze is probably from the Chris Brown school of R&B, which is totally fine. But I got a bigger question. Where'd you get Honey Glaze? What type of Scorpio are you? Aries? What Virgo? What is your sign? Because Honey Glaze is very particular. It's like a lemon pepper turkey for Thanksgiving. So I'm curious as to who and what you really are out here in these streets, Honey Glaze. But thank you for your comment. All right, Honey Glaze. I might get a Honey Glaze turkey this week. I don't know why I just screwed up in my chair, but that's how you make me feel. Pause. Not pause, but it's your... Anyway. All right. Now it's time for As the World Turns with Kenny Burns. In the immortal words of Frankie Beverly and Mays, no matter what we do, we are one. Our love will see us through. We are one. And that's the way it is. We are one. And that couldn't be more true right now in this moment. For generations, we've been fighting internally for civil rights, for equal rights, and right when it seems that the playing field has been leveled. There is a last-ditch effort, in my opinion, from insecure white men to save their race. The same construct they created to impart division and despair on ours. But let me tell you something I do know about God's children. We are one. No matter what we do, we are one. And now, ladies and gentlemen, is a time like no other in history to stand up for our communities, show love and compassion to our neighbors, and protect our communities at all costs. We all we got and all we need, I swear for God. Let's make our ancestors proud, y'all, and make this thing whole again.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Ooh, I'm sweating, child. This has been a doozy. I hope you enjoyed it. Go out there and be great and tell everybody you know about the Kenny Burns Show. And don't forget, y'all, please like, comment, and share. That's the only way we grow so we can give you this show. You like that, Tiff? I'm on one today. Here at TKBS, we love you in real life. And on the count of 3, TKBS Nation, we're going to get out of here with our credo. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. The dream is real. The dream is real.